You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I am your host, Barbara Savin, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? Your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use it for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, I'm going to bring my guest on right now. How are you, April?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
To be here.
My pleasure. Let me tell my listeners a little bit about you. April Dávila, right? Dávila?
Yes,
okay.
well done.
April Dávila. She is an award-winning author and mindfulness instructor. Publishes weekly, called her novel 142 Ostriches a vivid, uplifting debut. And Writer's Digest listed her website as one of the best 101 websites for writers. And after studying mindfulness with Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield, she was certified as a mindfulness meditation teacher by the Greater Good Science Center at the University of California at Berkeley. And she is also the co-founder of A Very Important Meeting, which is an online platform hosting 20 mindful writing groups every week. Wow. That's a lot of work, I bet.
It is a lot of work. Well, I don't host them all myself, thankfully. We started small with my partner and I met her at a writing conference and we were both hosting these online groups, which included a little bit of meditation to focus our minds and then writing for about an hour with friends. So we teamed up and for a while it was just the two of us teaching a couple classes. But then when we asked the people who were writing with us, how can we be more useful? The overwhelming response was more meetings, more times, more teachers. So we wrangled a few more teachers and we all take a few and we all have time slots that we prefer. Like, I like to lead the 9:30 a.m. Pacific time meetings because my kids are off to school and it's quiet here and I'm writing anyway. So it's a wonderful opportunity to just open up my writing room to anyone who wants to come write with me. And then we chat for a little bit at the end. And we started it during the pandemic and it was such a lifeline to not only ourselves, but so many people who were so isolated. But as it's continued to kind of grow and shift and the people who come are such wonderful people. I mean, it's a pretty self-selecting group who's going to come to a meditative writing group and they're just wonderful people. We have such a good time.
That sounds so different. So you do meditation first.
Yes.
And then you all talk about writing, and are they already authors or are they
I mean, that's the beauty of it is we do start with a 10-minute meditation, but then I just mute all of us and we write for 45 minutes just in silence. And you would think, I didn't think when we started this that would be useful or helpful, but there's something so moving to because you'll have the instinct of I hit a tough spot, I'm going to get up and go do the laundry or something, and then you look up and you see all these other faces and they're all sitting there writing too, and you're like, no, I'm going to stick with it, and you do, and you stay there and write. So most of the meeting is in silence, and then at the end of the hour I break the silence and I say, okay, we're done, how'd it go for everybody? And we just chat. And one of the nice things about that format is that there's no pressure on what you produce. We have people who come regularly just to journal because that's how they focus themselves. And we have people who are New York Times journalists. We have people working on their third, fourth, fifth novel. We have people who've never written anything and they're writing their first poems, but we don't share our writing. We
Oh,
just,
you don't? Okay.
no, it just doesn't. I mean, not that it can't. It has from time to time someone will share like, oh, I came up with a great line for my poem. I want to share it. But it's not like we go around and read our work. It's just a place to come together and write because writers can be so isolated. And it is wonderful to have the community.
I know for firsthand because it took me many years to write my book.
Yes. Yeah.
But I needed silence.
Exactly, which is why we come together, but then we write in silence.
Uh-huh. And I did actually on my second one right now. And you have to just find a place and you have to devote that time without any interruption.
Yeah. You should come write with us.
I will definitely check this out. It's something I look forward to doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone because we all know we should meditate and we all want to do our writing. But when you put, that's why we called it a very important meeting. You put it on your calendar, you tell everyone else you've got a very important meeting and you meditate for 10 minutes and you get your writing done and it just turns your whole day around.
It does. And it is a very important meeting.
It is.
It's a great name.
Thank you.
Who came up with that name?
Actually, my partner, Paulette Perhetch, she's based up in Seattle and we were bantering names around and a lot of names having to do with mindfulness and right. And she was like, no, but it's just a really important meeting you have to keep for yourself. And we're like, there it is.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know it's amazing how we just get those names all of a sudden and then you know it's perfect for you.
Yeah.
So speaking about names, I know you wrote a novel all about 142 ostriches. How did that come about? I thought it was I thought it was real at first that you actually was on a ranch with all these birds.
You know, I take that as such a compliment when people ask if I was raised on an ostrich farm because I was not. Okay, so to explain, the story basically started off, I had this instinct I wanted to write a novel. I didn't really know what I was doing. And the stories that came to me were stories from my mom's upbringing, being raised on a dairy farm near Sacramento when she was young. And a lot of the stories started off that way based on the anecdotes so my grandmother, a lovely, wonderful woman and a wonderful grandmother, but by all accounts, not a very good mother. My great-grandfather actually showed up on the doorstep one day and said, I'm taking the kids. You're doing a terrible job. I'm going to take the kids with me to live on the ranch for a while till you get your act together. And that was kind of the inspiration for, I was like, I want to tell that story because she went from being a city girl living in Oakland, you know, about as city as it gets in California, to this very rural ranch out in the Sacramento Valley. And her uncles were kind of awful to her and she had to adjust to new school and all these things. And, so I started writing those stories, but I don't know anything about dairy farming and I love the desert and I wanted to set it in the desert. So I was Googling looking for some kind of farm or ranch or something that was out in the desert. And there's not a lot because the desert isn't great for most of those things, but I found this ostrich farm. And as you do when you're a writer, I pitched it as a travel piece and sold the idea. So I went out to take a tour and write this travel piece about this ostrich farm. And as soon as I got there, I was like, this place would just be perfect for my story because the birds are such walking contradictions. They're really graceful, but they're also deadly. You know, they can gut you with one kick to your gut. And they have these beautiful long eyelashes, but then this really scaly skin that just is, I don't know. And I feel a story about family is such a story about contradiction. You can love them and be really angry with them. You can desperately miss them. And then when they show up, you're like, oh, go away. You know, family is fraught with these kind of things. And so when I saw the birds and it was in the desert, which I love, and it was a farm, which I had been looking for. So that was how it ended up being an ostrich farm. I basically rewrote my mother's story to be an ostrich farm instead of a dairy farm. And then what happened is as I rewrote it, my mom's story started to fall away. So if you read the book now, there's only one scene from real life that's still in the book. And that's the scene where the grandmother, I made it a grandmother instead of grandfather, shows up on the doorstep and says, "You're doing a terrible job. I'm taking the girl to live with me on the ranch." Everything else has become total fiction. And
Oh,
that's the
wow.
only part that still remains from my mom's story.
Wow. So your family, all this began with your family.
Yeah. Yeah. They say, write
So,
what you know.
well, oh, I know. But believe me, in the first chapter in my book, or it should have been a lot longer than what the editor actually took some out, was all about family.
Mm.
Because my grandma was a healer. So that's what it was all about. My great grandma was a healer.
So you're in a long line of healers.
And now
Yeah.
my daughter and granddaughter are getting into that. So
Wow.
I'm very happy about that one, believe me.
Yeah.
Because I was getting a little worried. Gee, I'm the last one to survive this, and who else is going to take it on?
Yeah.
But because it's nice when you have that and it continues on. So what exactly is this book about on this farm?
Yeah, so the story is much more about the family. It
Oh, okay.
starts with the death of the matriarch. Grandma passes away, and the granddaughter inherits, and then the middle generation who got passed over for the inheritance descend upon the farm, angry that they didn't inherit, bringing all their old skeletons in the closets, and it's much more about the family dynamics. The granddaughter has to decide whether she's going to sell it or keep it. What is she going to? It's a story about her coming into her own as a young woman and deciding how she wants to live her life.
So some of it is real, some of it is not.
I mean, at this point, it's all fiction.
It's all
I
fiction.
definitely pulled some of the plot points are pulled directly from anecdotes that the owner of the ostrich farm told me as I was there because I went out multiple times once I decided that's where I was going to set the story. I would go out and take him to lunch and just listen to his stories about trying to run an ostrich farm. And so the interpersonal dynamics are loosely based on my family and are entirely fictionalized. And some of the plot points are, again, fictionalized, but from true stories that the owner of the ranch told me about.
So did he actually have 142?
No. So it's funny. The title is, I had this very artsy title for it, which spoke to the theme and the the matriarchal, all of this. And I told a mentor of mine, I was having coffee with her right as I was starting to send out queries to agents. And she said, "Well, what are you calling it?" And I told her the long artsy title. And she said, No. Everyone's going to call it the Ostrich Book. You should just embrace that. And but you can't just call it the Ostrich Book.
Right.
And I had done the math to figure out how many ostriches would actually be on this farm, just so that I would know what it looked like in my head so I could accurately display it. And so rather than just call it the Ostrich Book, I called it 142 ostriches because that's how many there were.
Wow. Wow, I can't imagine so many birds like that. And I mean, they're beautiful birds.
They are beautiful and scary. They're really big. They're really
they are big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're what, about 6 feet high? Or 5
They're
feet?
like
Yeah, they're big.
8 to 9 feet tall.
Ooh, that
They're
big.
like,
Ooh.
I mean, I'm pretty tall. I'm almost 6 feet, and I have to reach up to grab their beaks. They're big.
Oh, so that it will be scary.
Yeah, they're like dinosaurs. And
So what made him
loom
have?
over you.
I bet. So what made him have those type of birds? Why did he do that?
His story was so great. I could have written a nonfiction book. He had been an investment banker in New York in the 80s, and just the frenzy of it and the pace of life. He had it one day, and he had read an article about how ostrich meat was really lean and it was going to be the new health craze. So he literally ordered 2 breeding pairs of ostriches to be shipped to his mother's house in San Diego, I think it was. And he said, "Just put them in the backyard. I'm going to start an ostrich ranch." And he bought a big chunk of desert because desert land's pretty cheap. And he just said, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to be an ostrich rancher." Didn't know what he was doing, which is why he had so many great stories to tell about things he had done wrong and things that the birds did that he didn't expect. And he told me he spent most of his profits the first year on the vet that he hired to come out to help him with stuff because he didn't know what he was doing. but he figured it out. He was there for decades.
Wow.
Yeah, he passed away before my book came out. Sadly, I never got to share it with him.
Wow.
But he was a wonderful source of stories and information.
Who took over his ranch?
As far as I know, nobody. It was the birds got sold and the land got sold, and his kids, I don't think, had any interest in running it. So it
That
is
would
no
be a tough
more.
thing to
Yeah,
run, actually.
yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
wow. Bless his soul.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you, I know you also do mindfulness,
I
and you're a
do.
meditation teacher also, I would assume, right?
Yes.
How has that actually changed your career?
Oh,
Has it helped you become more creative, or has it helped you with your writing?
it's almost it's hard to even sum up. It has changed my life and my writing. I mean, I expected that when I took up meditation more regularly that I would see some changes, maybe, and a little more peaceful. That's what I was hoping for. And when I looked back, so after I struggled for a long time with my writing, couldn't get anything published, couldn't finish the book, was really frustrated, and I finally found some traction. This was about 6 years ago. And when after the book came out and I looked backwards and I thought about what changed when my writing finally started to get some traction, started to get better. Um, it coincided with when I got serious about meditation. And at first I blew that off and I thought correlation is not necessarily causation. That was just a coincidence. But when I got curious and I really looked into it, I started to realize some very specific ways that meditation not only helped me in my life, but helped me in my creative pursuits. And that has really informed how I teach meditation. And I almost exclusively teach mindfulness and writing together at this point. I teach through a very important medium, but I also do private coaching, and I have something called the 6-week Mindful Writers Challenge that I have for people who want to go deeper into mindfulness and writing. But to share a little bit, probably the biggest impact was on my ability to see and quiet my inner critic. And I know this is something that people deal with across the board. So it's kind of the thing I like to share up front is when you get better at noticing your thoughts, when you become mindful of your thoughts, you start to notice things that pop up that may or may not be true. And so if you can think about, as you know, as a writer, you're working on a draft, you write a sentence, and used to be, I would just delete it. Oh, well, that's no good. And I would never, that first sentence would be almost an impossible hurdle to get over. But when you can write that first sentence and the little voice kicks in and says, well, that wasn't very good, you can just say, okay, yeah, that's probably true. I'll come back and edit it later. And you just keep writing. And all of a sudden, first drafts just flow out like they never did before. And so that's probably the biggest game changer for me. But there have also been ways like learning to sit with uncomfortable emotions has allowed me to get them on the page more effectively. My characters used to be a little more one-dimensional in terms of they were very stoic, and that runs in my family. I like stoic characters, but I started to realize with a little reflection that part of the reason I wrote stoic characters is because I was not comfortable feeling the emotions that characters need to feel
Mhm.
long enough. You have to be able to not only feel them, you need to be able to feel them and then stay with them long enough to like find the words to describe them, get those words
Mhm.
on the page. It is really a hard thing to do. And a story isn't much of a story if it doesn't have anger, sadness, grief, all these emotions that are important to a story that I think I was avoiding for a long time. I didn't want to feel those things. And so mindfulness has helped me touch into those things in a way that isn't overwhelming,
Mhm.
and let me write them more effectively, which has absolutely changed my writing. It's helped me with just being a writer in general because there's so much rejection involved. People will, as you know, I'm sure, there will always be
Uh-huh.
someone who doesn't like your work. I mean, the
Mhm.
best-selling authors on the planet, people don't like their work. So there will always be that voice. There will always be that little imposter syndrome voice, or the oh, well, even though everybody loved your book, wait till you write the next one, then they'll know you're a big fraud. Like there will always be that little voice in your head who wants to tell you things aren't right. And when you can just acknowledge it and say, okay, thank you for your opinion, I'm going to
Mhm.
keep writing. And I could go on and on and on, like so many ways that
Yeah.
mindfulness has changed my life and my writing.
Well, that's why I used to all the time, even to this day. I sit for about 10-15 minutes and actually meditate. And if a negative thought does come, we all have negative thoughts every now
Of
and then.
course.
I just ask it to leave, and that,
Yeah.
thank you. I acknowledged you, but now you need to go
Yeah.
because I don't need you right now.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, and
Exactly.
when writing, I know the first few sentences were very challenging, but then I decided for myself just to let it go and just to put everything, just keep on typing. Wrong grammar, right grammar, it didn't
Yes.
matter.
Doesn't
Just keep
matter.
on typing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't edit a blank page. You can
If-
take a big pile of terrible writing and edit and edit and edit into something beautiful. But if you can't get it on the page, you got nowhere to start.
Well, that's it. And it's hard. And again, you do need that time, the quiet time, and a certain spot, in either your
Mm.
home or somewhere where you go, where you just feel that more of that inspiration.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
But all right, so mindfulness has helped you, right? So you've written the one book, or are you writing others, or?
Yeah, so the first book came out in 2020, about a week before the shutdown, actually. So I didn't really get to do book tour, which was really
Oh,
disappointing.
mhm.
But I took that time to work on novel two, and I am nearing the finish line. It is done. The draft is done, and right now I'm going over the first two chapters again to they're not as good as I want them yet. So I'm revising, but it is getting close to done, and I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
I know it takes us quite. I know I have about 10 chapters in my book, but it's a book on healing, and it's
Yeah.
more of a teaching book. But it's amazing how many times we change things until we
Yes.
finally feel that this is the way it should be.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing I talk about in my classes, the mindfulness idea of right view, of seeing things as they really are. So sometimes when I go back and read a passage, I'll realize that I've brought so much mental imagery to it that isn't actually on the page. And this is another way that mindfulness has impacted. So, like, there was a sentence I found in my first draft that said it was raining, and when I went back and read it, I was like, but there can be 1,000 different kinds of rain. What does it really look like? Is it
Mhm.
heavy, like thunderous rain, or is it a little sprinkle? So being able to recognize what's actually on the page and what's still just in my head has
Mhm.
also changed my writing. And that's directly related to the mindfulness practice. And that's that revision that you're talking about, just over and over again.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I know. I sat here, and actually I wrote my book in Brooklyn. Um, and ended up finishing it when we moved here in California, and then it was published in 2016, and it's still selling, still
That's
it's
wonderful.
still going strong.
I love that. I love that.
And I'm proud of it. And but it was challenging. It was, as you mentioned, the writers actually do get lonely
Yeah.
because you're by yourself and you need that alone time.
You do need that alone time for the writing, but then for our overall well-being, I think you have to find ways to touch base with other people, to connect. I mean, just as humans, we need that.
Well, that's why I have a healing practice, and I worked at the Four Seasons Hotel in Westlake
Oh, wow.
at the California Health and Longevity Institute, and unfortunately, they just closed their doors after 15 years
Oh,
in November. But I'm in another wellness center because I feel we need to give of ourselves, and not just a lot of my thoughts actually. When I sit down with someone, the life coaching comes in. The thoughts that I have that should probably be in a book right now actually come out in life coaching.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then the book becomes a way to reach the people that you can't reach in person.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a beautiful thing when I feel, when we can sit and write and help
Yeah.
others, without judging, without anything, just being there for them.
And that's, I mean, to bring it back to a very important meeting, for me, that's how I do that part for me, is the giving part of it. Because it's donation based. It's a come throw in $5 if you've got it. If not, just come and write. And for me, it's so important. It sounds like similarly to your healing work, to
Mhm.
make that connection with other writers and give what I can in terms of creating space, giving a little bit of guidance. I mean, I don't really teach much in those sessions, but
Mhm.
I think just holding the space is my
Holding the
version of
space is
that.
important. One of my clients, I first met her when she was 18, and she had a journal all about different poems that she wrote about her life. And one day I had mentioned to her, because I was intuitively feeling, you should write a book.
Mm.
You know, put these beautiful, some were hurtful, some were loving, put them in a book. And she finally did at the age of 23.
Oh, good for her.
And the book is published now.
That's wonderful.
And it's funny when you say to yourself, oh, how can I write a book? You know, I don't, but we all have, I feel, the ability to be able to write something, because we all
Absolutely.
have different life, everything that's happened to ourselves in our lives.
Yeah, we all have stories to tell. I deeply believe that. Yes.
One day I said to myself, maybe I should write a book just about all my life stories in Brooklyn. That would be a little heavy duty though, but growing up in the projects.
I read that.
Yeah, it was tough, but we survive.
Yeah.
We survive. So with your process, when you make an effort that you're going to write a book, what happens? Do you sit down and write a table of contents, or?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I've got 3.5 books written. One is published. The second one I mentioned is very close to done. I have a third one that is half written in the drawer. Many ideas for others. And the first book I did not outline. I just started writing, and it took me 8 years to write it. And it was every step of the way painful. And when I got to writing the second book, I outlined it. And then I rewrote the outline, and I rewrote the outline. And before I even started writing a scene, I had a 60-page outline, and it was such a joyous experience that I swore I would never write a book without outlining again. And then what do you know? I picked up my pen and started writing book 3 without really thinking about where I was going with it, because it just had this idea. So I guess I would love to reach a point where I'm producing a book every 2 years, and I outline for 3 months, and then I write a draft for 9 months. And I mean, I'd love to be that organized, but I haven't found that rhythm yet. I am hopeful that as my kids get older, because I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they're starting to be more independent, which gives me more time and more focus for myself and my writing. And my hope is that as they get a little older, I'll have more space, and I would love to get to that point. But right now it's really just catch as catch can, get it on the page, edit so I don't have a solid answer for that. The one thing that I do very well is daily practice. So my husband gets the kids to school, I meditate for a few minutes in the morning, I sit down and write. I write until about 11, sometimes noon if I have it in me, and then I switch to doing things like podcast interviews and blog posts and all the promotional stuff that you do around writing. So that's my daily routine, and that I'm pretty good about.
Yeah, I know with my book, I did not have a table of contents or anything like that. I just started writing it. But the second one, I actually decided to do a table of contents to have more thoughts,
Yes.
It actually made it a little easier. Because the first one took me about 8 years to actually get finished.
Yeah. And I don't know if you had this experience too, but a lot of that 8 years is even just figuring out what you're doing. How does one write a book? What is point of view? There's so many questions, and I feel like I learned it. And that's actually what I blogged about. When Writer's Digest listed my blog as one of the best blogs for writers, I think it was because I was very honest about all of the things I did wrong. And whenever I realized I was doing something wrong, I would write a blog post about it. Like, oh, I've been jumping POVs, or oh, I did a flashback inside a flashback and it just got really confusing. So now I'm simplifying it into this. And so I would write about all the things that I was learning as I was going. And I learned a lot. I made a lot of missteps, but eventually got there.
Well, that's the most important thing. As long as we did stick with it and we're determined and perseverance, it'll get done.
Yeah, exactly. I take perseverance over talent any day of the week.
Yeah, me too. We have to stay with it.
You have to
Even with
stay
my
with it.
clients, I tell them, you have to just stay with it, even though it may
Yeah.
be challenging. Just go for it, and then you'll see it. It'll happen.
It'll happen. Well,
It'll
and I know
happen.
so many really talented writers who give up. And it's such a shame because they
Mhm.
write the beautiful prose, but they just don't have the persistence. And so that book's never going to be born.
I
And that's a
know that's a
shame.
shame.
Yeah,
It is a shame, but it happens.
it does.
So getting back to the ostrich
Oh,
farm,
yes, yes.
yeah, really, that was.
What more can I tell you?
I know. So it was about your family.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So um, is there anything that you'd like to share, like what you wrote about them, or?
It's interesting to write about your family or to even base fictional characters on your family because the main character is a young woman and she has her mom and her uncle and her aunt, and which is the same. That's my family dynamic, and it is a very female centric family. Same with my family. My uncle was the only boy after my grandfather passed away.
Oh,
The only male, I should say. I did have a boy cousin, and I originally did write him in, but it got a little confusing, so I had to make him a girl. Anyway, but writing the struggles. So in the book, Uncle Scott has trouble with drug addiction, and it's one of the things that is a real source of strife in the family, and that is very much pulled from my family. My uncle struggled for decades with heroin addiction. He was in and out of
oh,
prison, and my grandmother ignored it. And she literally, he would walk in, steal the TV, and she would just buy another. She did not deal with her son's troubles, and so he didn't have any support in dealing with them. And I
wow.
wrote that dynamic into the story and took it further than the reality of my family. I take it to an extreme in the novel because that's the beauty of fiction. You can take things to an extreme,
Mhm.
and in doing so explore different themes. And in this book, it's really about how people deal when they don't feel supported, and the the legacy of the way that we deal with things in our family. So the grandmother wasn't a great mother, and so lo and behold, her daughter wasn't a great mother, and these things carry down through
Carry down.
generations. So and then you also have in my book, just to give I guess a balance to the one character who turned towards drugs and to regulate himself. I give Aunt Christine, who's fictionalized version of my Aunt Becky, religion. Instead of drugs, she turns towards
Mm,
Catholicism, and that is her solace. That's how she organizes her life and builds her family. And in some ways, that's a much better choice. And in other
mhm.
ways, it is just another way that people deal with the challenges that are in their lives. And so that was really what I was exploring in the book is how people deal with the challenges that are put in front of them in different ways.
And there's a lot of them, but it's hopefully most of us heal from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in real life, my uncle actually did finally get sober and pulled his life together. It took a
Good for
long
him.
time, but he got there.
Well, in many cases they do.
Yeah.
So, does I'm curious, does your family know that you wrote this book somewhat based on them?
Well, my uncle is not really
Uh,
included as part of the family anymore. He
uh,
was more or less disowned a long time ago. I don't even know that he knows my married name, so I'm kind of hoping he
oh,
never reads it,
okay.
because it's not a pretty picture of him, and I don't know. I don't even know him anymore, so it's certainly
Mm,
not an accurate portrayal of who he is now. It's memories kind of stitched together from an 8-year-old's perspective of what he was going through. Um, my aunt does know that I loosely based it on her,
okay.
and she didn't seem to mind. My mom, who was the more or less the template for the main character, Tallulah, was such a good sport. She read so many drafts and
Okay.
never once asked me to change anything. She has been wonderful across the board. And like I said, it's not really her story anymore. There's that
Right.
one little snippet that is still hers, but
Mm.
she knows it was loosely based on hers and that she was the inspiration.
Oh, well, maybe she feels like really, proud because there's a
I
book
hope
out there.
so. I hope
Yeah.
so.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
she's proud that you've written a book,
Yeah.
what you've
She's been
accomplished.
wonderful.
Hmm.
Supportive the whole way. Yeah.
that's good when they're supportive. Yeah, my mom passed away 3 years before the book came out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And unfortunately, my father had dementia and he didn't even understand, afterwards. But my sister, and my kids are proud,
Yeah.
and I said, all right, at least some of the family is there,
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes it nice when you still have someone that you can share it with, in the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
so now, can I ask you what your second book is about, or?
Oh, yes. I'm so excited about it. It's I'm actually not sure what genre it is. I'm going to let the publisher decide. But it's a story about a young couple who find themselves in the unusual position of being immortal until they decide to have a baby. And it starts in the 1700s and it follows their life through 250 years of history until modern day when they decide to break the magic and become parents.
Wow, so that'll be really interesting.
It's
I'm curious now.
it's it's an idea that occurred to me at my daughter's first birthday, that this idea that immortality of youth that we all talk about, and how when she had aged a year, and yet I didn't feel like I had aged, and yet now I had to kind of confront the fact that I was aging, because here was this person that I had spawned who was aging, and I couldn't not be aging if she was
Also,
aging. But then I had this idea of what if I basically just taking the metaphor of immortality of youth and made it literal. And it's really fun to write immortal characters. They can do things and go places intentionally that you would never do with other characters.
So now, have you ever felt that any of your characters, some of them you want to do what you're writing about?
That I want them to do?
No, that what you would like to do.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Okay.
One of my favorite things about writing is that it's kind of make believe. I get to fall into, I think one of the greatest tragedies of life is that you only get one, right? You only get to do so many things. But when you're a writer and you can pour yourself into an ostrich farmer, I mean, I feel like I've been an ostrich farmer that I never have. And now I feel like I have been someone who has lived for 250 years, though I definitely have not. And I love that about writing. The book that's in the drawer is actually about an ultra marathon runner. And I'm fascinated by ultra marathon. They run these 100-mile races without stopping for hours, like 24 hours, 30 hours they run. I'm fascinated. So that I just dove into researching that and started writing that. And I will never be a long distance endurance runner, but I feel like I have kind of an inkling of what it's like now, because I did so much research and really poured myself into that character. So that's one of the things I love best about writing, is it's the things I wish I could do with my one glorious life that will only really be one thing.
Yeah, it's like a bucket list.
Yeah.
But,
that's how it feels.
Yes, right. And it's filling up in a different way.
Yeah. And it's very shareable in a way that, say, if my bucket list was, say, to go to the pyramids of Giza, I can do that, but I can't share it with the whole world as a story.
Yeah, it's a little different, but wow. And the beautiful thing about writing is your imagination just goes like out of control.
Anywhere. It can go anywhere.
Yeah, it could go
There are
anywhere.
whole books written on salt. You can write a book on anything.
You can actually.
I love that.
Yeah, just have to sit down. You have to sit down and just do it.
Yeah, I remember telling my kids when they were learning to read, I was like, I'm so excited for you guys. You have no idea the worlds that are about to open up for you. You can go anywhere in the universe. You can go places that don't exist. You can dive deep into molecular science and learn about a world that you can't even see. It's so small. Like anything. You can read a book on anything. And if you don't find that book, you write it.
Exactly. Our minds are so powerful, they're capable of doing anything.
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah, that's why I say all the time, our mind can either help us or not help us. So it's all about being mindful, of how we speak to ourselves and loving ourselves, and knowing that we are capable of doing anything that we do set our minds to do. So, because that, I feel, is the truth.
Absolutely.
And you've done an incredible job at it.
Oh, thank you. you.
But where can my listeners get a hold of you and your book?
Yeah, so aprildavila.com is my home base. I basically link to everything else from there, but I would also encourage anyone who's curious to join us at a very important meeting. It's just a veryimportantmeeting.com. I don't know if you have a place where you can actually put the link, but April Dávila is just April like the month, and Dávila is Davila.
My sister's middle name is April.
Oh, it's a good name. I like it.
Yes, it is. And when I saw April, I actually called her and I said, I have somebody else, but their first name is called April. Because she would always tell me, I don't know anyone who's called April. I said, well, now we do. Now you do.
They're very rare. At my book launch party, I had 2 friends who I had made recently named April came, and there were 3 Aprils in one place, and our minds were just blown because it's never happened. It's never. We took a picture, we were telling everyone, everyone's like, yes, so that's not that big. We were like, no, you don't understand.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. April is, you just don't hear it.
Not that many of us.
No, not that many at all. Yeah, some of the names are a little, I know there's quite many Barbaras, but you don't hear new Barbaras. It's
interesting.
From way back. So well, my sister was happy I found an April.
Tell her I say hi.
Okay, so it's April Davila.com.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the writers group again?
A very important meeting.com.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for coming on my show. It was a pleasure meeting you, and
likewise.
I can't wait to see what else you're coming out with.
Yeah, I'll drop you a line when the new book comes out.
Yes, please.
Tell me what you think.
We'll put you on the podcast again and talk about that one.
Oh, I would love that. Yes.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening today, and a big thank you to April for being my guest on my show. And I hope that you heard what you needed to hear today. And visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and we've also have gone international. So that I'm really proud of. And those may be interested in learning energy healing, check out my book on Amazon, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. So again, thank you so much for listening, and have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.